I know it looks a mess, but I'm doing my best here to figure out all of the wiring, since I have a starter relay, high torque starter with the starter solenoid on it, MSD 6AL, new coil, new distributor. All these components aren't there's not a set I forgot the 3G alternator. There's not a set wiring diagram in the Painless wiring harness kit for all of these components. I have to consult different pamphlets for each component. So before I started this video, the old man and I were trying to get the engine to at least crank to see if we had a complete circuit. I wasn't even getting power to the MSD. I actually just figured that out. I wasn't sure of where power was coming from in the harness, or what was powering the harness. So I went back and traced all the lines back and realized for the MSD it connects to the positive terminal and the negative terminal for power. But there had to be something that turned it on. That's the red wire here coming out of it that goes into this red and green wire. That red and green wire goes to the fuse box. So from there I had to trace it back to the fuse box. The red-green wire I know goes into here, but what's getting power to the fuse box? Well, it's the ignition switch, which, duh, I knew that. But the ignition switch has the yellow wire coming off of it as the B+ input. So that's where it's getting power from the battery, a constant 12-volt source. But as I turned the key, nothing would happen. So I traced the yellow back, and the yellow splices out into this wire, yellow black, which goes to the alternator. Alright, that didn't make sense though, because that's that's the input wire into the alternator, and then the output is what charges the battery. So I was back to square one. The yellow also appears in the old alternator harness. So thinking that that had to be my constant 12-volt source, I thought I'd have to plug that in somewhere up here. It's not the case. There's one small line of print in my newest Painless harness kit for the 3G alternator that says that the yellow wire coming out off the ignition switch also runs, so it starts there and you see it comes off into here. There's 3 wires out of this section which go into this alternator wire. If I trace this yellow back, it goes to the ammeter, and the ammeter can't handle the 3G's output, so it says you have to connect the ammeter back together. Thus, as soon as I made that connection, I turned the key. Lo and behold, the MSD light comes on, says it's functioning normally. Okay, that fixes that problem. Well, now I'm not getting any power to the starter solenoid. Well, I'm getting 12 volts here, but it doesn't click to have any power come out the opposite side to go to the starter. So what I'm thinking, in one of the pamphlets it tells me to hook up these 2 wires, one of them being the neutral safety switch and the other being an ignition source. If it's the neutral safety switch, I'd imagine hopefully that's what needs to be closed and I can get power to it. So I'm going to put these together and see if this fixes all my problems. Alright, neutral safety switch is butted together. Here it goes. Oh, no shit. Oh my god, I got it. Oh my god, I can't believe that. Fucking neutral safety switch. Oh, that scared me. Alright, now we are here talking about the Painless wire harness installation. More of a review instead of step by step, because, well, harness is pretty much all ran through the vehicle. I just have a few more hookups to do. But first and foremost, I just want to say that it went really well for something that I was kind of hesitant to start, reluctant, whatever you want to say. I know how to turn wrenches, but wiring scared me, and I think that that's silly at this point. It shouldn't scare anybody as long as you do a little research, read the book entirely through, and then try and get your hands dirty. It'll save you a lot of headaches. And pick up things that are going to help you out instead of doing things that are they're going to take much longer than you expect. Wire cutters and strippers, obviously. The Painless kit comes with a lot of butt connectors, so you want to use a crimper, some crimp style terminals. If you want to go above and beyond, get a soldering gun. I have a soldering gun, but I just wanted to do the butt connectors. I'll solder later. And then their kit comes with actual, this isn't all of them, but connectors to reuse factory harness components. So you can reuse the plastic pieces. Let me see if I can find one like this. This came out of the ignition switch, and the wires have terminals put on them, and they go through here, and then you just plug this into the back of that entire component. You can reuse these by using that part of the kit that's explained very early on, so that's up to you if you want to do that. I bought these jaw style crimpers. I didn't really think they did the job correctly, so maybe you want to buy something a little better than those. But for the most part, you just read the book, you follow its instructions. Now, it was easy for me because I didn't have everything in the vehicle. I didn't have the motor, I didn't have the dash. It was just straight up tub. So I could run the lines through and then add things as I was going along. So that makes it probably the most time efficient. Now, I had my problems still, but that was just because I didn't read the book entirely and I'd added new components. But for the most part, everything hooks up. You just got to put the butt connectors on, make sure you have your grounds. I put multiple grounds in the dash, in the motor, and everything works pretty well. I mean, if I turn the key on here, you see my voltmeter. That's an addition because I went a 3G, and you see I'm reading about 12 volts right now. If I had it running, I'd get all these to work. My lights come on. I can dim them. I mean, everything that you would expect out of a wiring harness for your early Bronco, it's there. I got the retro sound receiver and head unit to kind of keep the same look, so it's very easy to hook up. I went and put in a 12 volt charger. I just have to get this mounted somewhere in the dash. This just needed a fuse in the fuse box, and you take one of the accessory wires, ground it, and that works. Yeah, I mean, it's not that difficult, but it's not foolproof. I mean, you got to take your time, you got to be careful with it, and just think through what you're doing, and then ultimately you can hook all of it up and have it work. So highly recommend, if you're going to do an entire wire harness installation, the Painless kit. I know Centec makes one. It's probably just as good. And just know, if you're getting your hands on one of these kits, what components you have. For me, I'm running 3G alternator, MSD distributor, and an MSD ignition box with a coil. I don't have the DuraSpark, so I didn't need an extra harness. But if you're going to run a 3G, they sell a kit to adapt a 3G to your wiring harness, and that made it easier for me. So you're mixing different publications in order to get this entire thing running. So just know what your setup is, see if there's any auxiliary parts that you need, and get it all at once so that you can put all this stuff together at the same time, and you're not waiting on different connectors. And do your best to try and see if you'll get power to most of your items. So if you have any questions, obviously leave them in the comments below or send me an email. I'd love to help anybody out, talk more about the process, but I just wanted to give a brief overview. It went well for me. Like I said, I have a few more things to hook up, like the brake warning switch and the brake switch itself, and then just lights, and I should be set. So Hope this video helps some people out and keep these things running. All right, take care, everyone.